Hey everyone, this is Rohan Shah with some SAT math practice, and in this video we'll be learning about geometry. First of all, how many degrees are there totally in a polygon, meaning just in any shape? So if you have a triangle, I'm sure you're familiar that the angles all here add up to 180 degrees. Here's actually the formula for what if it was more than just, what if it was like 8 sides or something like that, an octagon. Well, the formula is this, probably one of the most important formulas here. N minus 2 times 180, where n is the number of sides in that polygon. So as we can see, a triangle, if you plug in 3 here, 3 minus 2 is just 1, 1 times 180 is just 180. So a 3-sided shape is just 180 degrees. What about a 4-sided shape, a quadrilateral, kind of like a square or a rectangle or a kite? Well, 4 minus 2 is 2, 2 times 180 is 360, and so on. So an octagon, an 8-sided shape, would just have 8 minus 2 is 6. Whatever 6 times 180 is, that's how many degrees there would be in total. Speaking of triangles, here's some vocabulary. Scalene. A scalene triangle is where all 3 angles, and therefore sides, are not equal to each other. Isosceles, iso just means the same, that's where exactly two of the angles, and therefore sides, are equal to each other. Equilateral just means all 3 angles are equal, and therefore all 3 sides. Here's one thing about triangles though. In general, if you have 2 equal angles, let's say this angle and this angle are both equal, let's say they're both 40 and 40. By the way, here's an SAT question, if these two are 40, what's that side? Well, given that they all have to add up to 180, these two 40 and 40 is 80, so this must be 100, so that way they could be 180. Either way, if these 2 angles are equal to each other, then the side opposites from it, so this side is opposite to this, and this side is opposite, so these 2 sides must also equal each other. What if these 2 angles were 60? Then that's isosceles, right? Because 2 of them are equal. Actually, let's be a little bit more careful. If these 2 add up to 120, and all 3 of them have to add up to 180, this third one must also be 60, which actually means it's not just 2 of them, but all 3 of them that are equal. That's an equilateral triangle, which also means all 3 sides are equal. Notice that an equilateral triangle, all the angles have to be 60 degrees. A cool thing about equilateral triangles is if you know any one of the side length, obviously you know the other 2, but you can actually use this formula, root 3 over 4 x squared, to find the area, instead of the usual formula 1/2 base times height, where you need 2 variables. Here you only need the 1 variable to find the area. Then we have these thing called right triangles. A right triangle is a triangle where one of the angles is a right angle, a 90-degree angle. Notice though that because all 3 of them have to add up to 180, if this is already 90 here, these other 2 have to add up to 90. Which means that they're going to be less than 90 each, right? Because they got to add up to 90. Now here's the thing about any triangle. The side opposite from it kind of belongs to, this side kind of belongs to this angle. This side kind of belongs to this angle. And in general, the bigger the angle that you belong to, the bigger the side. So because out of these 3 in any right triangle, the right angle is going to be the biggest of the 3 angles. That's why the side opposite from it is always going to be the biggest of the 3 sides. And that is always called the hypotenuse. You might have heard of that. And speaking of hypotenuse, there is this thing called the Pythagorean theorem that I'm sure you've heard of, where it says that the 2 legs, if you call them A and B on the hypotenuse C, that A squared plus B squared must always equal C squared. So that basically means if you know any 2 sides, then you can always find the third side length, if it's a right triangle. There's a special case here of a right triangle called a 30, 60, 90 triangle. Basically, what that says is that the 30, the side across from the 30-degree angle, the smallest one, if we call that x, then the biggest side length, the one across from 90, the hypotenuse, will be 2x. And that the middle one, the one across from 60, will be root 3 times x. The point of that is now, knowing any one side, you can find the other 2. So you don't need, usually you need 2 sides to then find the third, But if you know that you have a 30, 60, 90 triangle, knowing any one side can give you the other two. And finally, another special triangle is called a 45, 45, 90 triangle, where notice it's isosceles because two of the angles are equals, which actually means that the two sides opposite from that are equal, right? This side and this side are equal to each other. Let's call them both x. Well then, using the Pythagorean theorem, you can actually prove it, but the hypotenuse then must be root 2x. So again, the cool thing here is knowing any one of the three sides, you can figure out the other two. If that helped, make sure you subscribe to our SAT math platform where you can learn some math and learn to know.